Thank you for joining us and welcome to the ROX Wrestling Burnout Episode 11 review, brought to you by CawTalk and Today in Caw. I am Cole Michaels alongside my co-host. He's the editor-in-chief of Today in Caw, Philip Nelson. Say hello.
Hello.
So, without any further hesitation, let's get right into the review. So, so the show starts with ORJ. Nope. No, it's not. It ends wearing a very, very good cosplay of ORJ, almost like it's his actual attire. What did you think of this?
I think this promo was a great impression. It started with a great impression of RJ. Enz was doing a very nasally voice, a very nasally impression. I think it was intentionally meant to be annoying and bad, much like RJ. I'm kidding. Um, so he just essentially walks through does this whole heel shtick, talking about how RJ got his ass beat by his female companion, how he had such a brief title reign, um, think that he's a horrible, think that he's like a horrible, like inspirational, horrible role model to like the fans everywhere. Just making fun and making light of Orion Baines, especially after he's been fired and released from the company by Enz himself.
Speaking about Orion being fired, he then talks on the topic of a lot of people asking on Twitter why Orion James is still all over the posters and just social media in general, and even the intro. So he said this was the fault of the social media team and editors, and he fired all of them. So unfortunately, Jack, Jill, Johnny, James, James Jr., James the Third, James the Fourth, James the Second, Jack the Eighth, Jill the Ninth were fired. That wasn't it. He was feeling in the firing mood and decided to fire Roger the referee,
Not
cameraman number
Roger.
9, person in the back watching, who he didn't even know who it was, and he then, in a positive note, he did sign a fan and then fired them immediately. But that's what it is, I guess. He said that he's going to need 2 thrones, one for him and one for his ego. And I don't know if I misheard this, but what I heard was his ego is so big it makes his dick look bigger.
You heard it right. That's what
Wow.
he said.
So, I mean, in context, this is a great ends promo. He's very good at what he does. He's good at being annoying, but at the same time, he's like hilarious to me at least. Um, yeah, I feel like the context behind it was all good. He didn't waffle at all. It all made sense. The firing people was a good reminder of the band submission holds. I hope he keeps doing this kind of thing each time they're on.
Making a list thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so from this promo we go into match number 1, which is Keo versus TJ Rave. What did you think of this match?
I thought this was a decent showing by both men. It was a bit slow in most parts of this match, partially because Kyo's entire strategy was circulated around keeping TJ Rave grounded, keeping him like off his feet, not allowing him to do his high flying, his bring into his high flying offense. So it was a little bit slow and lumbering for a lot of it. Um, One of my main issues was this match didn't really present anything new to the table from either guy, and this is not anything against them. They're both very capable, but it just seemed like unimaginative. It seems like they were kind of going on easy mode right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna talk to some of the points of the match. Sorry. The match, like, it skipped the whole lockup sequence, which I actually kind of like. I sometimes find the lockup sequence diatribe, and it seems like it's just something that everyone falls into, and I kind of like when people kind of shake up the formula a little bit.
I agree there.
Keo started, yeah, Keo started pushing him around. Keo started like taking control. He was just showing that he was slightly larger. Commentary makes it a point that Keo's a lot larger, but you can clearly tell they're
Although,
kind of.
yeah, I've wrote something down about that. So he says there's quite a size difference and states that, and this is of course for both of them too. He says so. Keo is 205 pounds and 6 foot 1 inches tall. I can see that, but then there's no way TJ is the weight that the commentator stated he is. So he stated that TJ was, of course, 5'8" and 198 pounds. No. He's far from 190. If he was 5'8" and 198 pounds on a BMI scale, is classed as clinically obese.
Yeah, and he doesn't have
He's
the
not.
sheer muscle mass to carry the
No.
type of weight. So
He's
I think that may have been a low
maybe,
exaggeration by the commentary.
yeah, in my opinion, he's more around the 170 mark, maybe less.
Yeah,
Maybe even even as low as 140. It wouldn't surprise me. But yeah,
and that
so
would justify.
yeah, so there'd be a height difference there. 6'1" and
Mhm.
5'8". That's a decent difference. But if TJ was 198 pounds, there's not much of a weight difference there. Like it's not that
Yeah,
much for like, and the way Kia was throwing him around too, I don't think there's at all 198 pounds. Not a chance. But yeah,
yeah, and
carry on.
as the match just went on, Keo just kept him grounded. Keo would see control. Rave did have his points, kind of his hope spots where he would get a little
Yeah,
bit of offense and would pick up the pace a little bit. But he did make the crucial mistake of giving Keo space and allowing Keo to work around him. So like when he would throw Keo into the corner and go for a running splash, even though sometimes he would hit him successfully, he would like that's still giving Keo space, that's giving him time to breathe. And you never want to give an opponent like Keo time to breathe, especially when you're
yeah,
so like methodical. He's gonna break you apart. He's gonna study you. He's gonna know what you're coming with next. And that just seemed to be a showing of like inexperience on Ray's part. There were a few like high points during the match. The most notable one for me was when Rave knocked Keo to the outside after not well a shoulder tackle through the ropes. Then he went onto the apron and delivered a really good, like a really well executed Arabian press moonsault. Um,
mm.
and not too long after that, they got back into the ring and they went back into their back and forth.
Yeah. There was a nice blue thunder bomb. That was pretty cool looking.
It
The
was
little
impressive.
super kick combination was pretty cool, and then the that vicious Bloody Mary was the beginning of the end for Rave. Quality wise, as far as like technical quality, not match quality, the show has from so far up to this point had been far superior to episode 10. There was one spot in the match though where the camera messes up just a little bit. It just flashes black on the screen. Not sure what that was, but it wasn't too much of a big deal. Following that match, we get an advertisement for Colby Jordan coming soon. I'm interested to see. Colby's a great talent, and yeah, that whole match, by the way, that first match was around 9 minutes long.
Mhm.
I got again, just like for the other episode, I got down the match times too. So yeah, that was 9 minutes long. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Whilst it was a okay match, I don't think I feel like both people know they could have done better. Um,
Yeah,
and it just felt a little bit, like you said, easy mode. Um,
yeah, they're both very capable, but it's just something didn't click tonight, and it was or the night of this event, and it just didn't end up with the level of quality that we expect from guys like this.
yeah. So following the Colby Jordan advertisement, we cut back to the entrance stage, and there is a very very big, very scary, very jacked Russian dude walking down to the ring, who the commentator got the name of wrong. It's Ivanovsky, not Ivanovsky. It's all one word. He is believe it or not, a very accomplished wrestler in Russia. I mean, you wouldn't think it from this match because it was a whopping 20 seconds. Um, yeah,
22 to be exact.
both men ran at each other, and honestly, it really did seem like Ivanovsky was about to punch Okami's brain out of his skull, but somehow Okami managed to duck it and roll it into a wheel kick, and then from there, Shadow Wizard 1, 2, 3. That the quickness of Okami in that situation was immense. Like the fact that you genuinely see Ivanovsky's arm wrench back to punch him was crazy. But
Um,
you go.
I was just saying, with matches like this, it's for me, squash matches are always a weird territory because they have their purpose and they serve them well, but you can never really say that a squash match is a good match in a way because
Yeah,
it's never gonna be a good competitive, a good like back and forth match. It's always just gonna be a one-sided squash, and especially a match this short of a squash match, 22 seconds. It's it's kind of hard to rate this match or to give this like a scoring. But it was a brief encounter.
I'd say
Okami,
it's possibly
like you
one of the
said, took his
quickest
heel.
wins of recent memory, actually, come to think of it.
It might be one of the quickest wins in RX history.
I think it could be one of the quickest wins in the industry as a whole. We see like matches like in terms of squash matches, we see stuff like what we saw in Burnout 10, which would be Continental versus Tyler Screen. That was a squash match. This takes the squash match to a whole nother level. But whilst we could talk about the match, what happened after it is a little bit more exciting. Tell us what happened, Philip.
So after Okami was celebrating his swift victory over Ivan, um, Everett came out with kendo stick and toe. He attacked Okami from behind, and this is just continuing their feud, their long and storied rivalry, following them from the Valiant War title when they were fighting over that, and then following them now into ROX rather than the fight over the Ascendance title at the Vengeance pay-per-view. And it's good to see a feud continue in so many companies. Like it's good to see inter-company feuds when these guys they don't just change depending on the company they're in.
Yeah,
It shows a consistent like arc for both of these men. Um, Akami did nonetheless look impressive after this match, and Everett did get his heel heat in. He this attack will this attack did pique my interest, and I'm looking forward to see how they roll with this in the next Burnout episode, and then at the Vengeance pay-per-view.
yeah. I have to say that his current storyline with Okami has almost reinvigorated Everett a little bit. To me, in my opinion, at least. I was getting kind of bored of Everett on screen. It was the same shtick every week, like, and now this Okami thing, I think it's reignited a fire within Everett, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next, honestly. Um, so from one beat down to another, we cut to Will Steele and Desmond Cruz fighting backstage. I didn't expect this at all, but whilst the punches obviously must have been vicious because both men are pretty big guys, we saw a horrible looking devil's hammer to the concrete floor. Um, yeah, this eventually we find out that this cuts Will Steele from his match, and it makes it a one-on-one match with Jamoshi and Cruz. Yeah, what do you think of this?
I think it was an interesting choice to book a handicap match in the first place in the main event.
Yeah,
And I think it's an even more interesting choice to have than the main event change to a one-on-one match. But I think this was a good way to do it. If anything is going to take Rule Steel out, you might as well have it be the most devastating move in ROX currently. Um, and
yeah.
what happened later on in the night, it worked pretty well.
To be honest, the Devil's Hammer is one of the most devastating moves, not just in ROX, but in the whole industry at the moment, because I don't think I've ever seen anybody kick out of it, or if they have, like, it's been a struggle. But from this, we go to Katia making her debut in ROX against, in my opinion, a very disrespected Brie Black. Commentator refers to her as local enhancement talent, which I think is a dumb move to make as a commentator because it you're already basically saying that they're not impressive. I mean, I've mentioned in previous episodes. Well, I don't know if I mentioned it in the Burnout X one, but I did in the Valiant one that didn't get uploaded because you're a moron. But ha. But yeah, I mentioned that I've commentated a couple matches. People may have seen them. I'm not that good, but I'm able to give critique on it because I have some tips. I can take some tips, kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like referring to somebody as local enhancement and talent is burying them more than any wrestler ever could. Doesn't even know her name until he must have got it passed through on the earpiece because he looked for his notes, couldn't see her name. Um, yeah, I feel like I'd like to see Brie Black more actually. What about you?
I I agree in that I like to see Brie Blackmore in ROX. I think she had an impressive showing against Katya, especially considering that this match was mostly intended to get Katya like introduced and acclimated to the new ROX audience.
Yeah,
Um, it was more than a squash match. It was slightly competitive at parts, but again, Katya is far more experienced, far more established than Bree. Um,
I mean, yeah, the
and
whole the
it
whole
showed.
match was only 3 minutes 30 seconds roughly.
Yep, and it showed. And Bree did have her points of brilliance where she Katya, the main one is Katya attempted a wrist lock Hurricane Runner from the corner, and then Bree reversed it with a wonderful sit out power bomb.
Mhm.
Um, there are other points when Bree would show her striking proficiency, but Katya, and at the end of the day, was the better athlete. She was the better wrestler. She was the better striker. She just outmatched Bree and outpaced Bree in every category, and the result speaks for itself. Katya
Yeah.
wins.
So following this match, Olivia of the DoD come out and she grabs the mic and the crowd goes silent. This could be one of two things. Either the crowd was muted for some reason, or the crowd just don't care about her. Um, Personally, I think the crowd just don't enjoy her because as soon as she stopped talking, they started cheering again. So, I mean,
I just think it was a moment at the time. She was making an apology. Maybe she was coming off as
yeah.
sincere. Maybe the crowd owed her that respect to say, hey, maybe we simmer down for a little bit while she makes her apology.
So she apologises for all the actions of late. They apologised to the fan that they attacked last time. Um, and she wanted to welcome Katia to ROX. That's nice. Well, at least it seemed it. Olivia exits the ring, and then the rest of DoD attack Katia in the ring. Um, One problem that I noticed with Olivia's microphone, sorry, is that the whole time it sounded very robotic. There must have been some problems with the in the sound booths for the microphones. It could be something that they could look up on kind of working out the issues of. It's not too much of an issue, it doesn't take much away from it, but it does take a little bit away. Um, yeah, so DoD attack Katia, um, and then Helena Rose returns, which was refreshing to see the crowd popped heavily for this moment. What do you think of this?
I thought it was a good segment. I thought them coming out and attacking Katya, the whole promo segment that preceded the attack was it did its job. It made us think that she was feigning it made us think that she apologized, but she was actually feigning it, and it was all a ploy for the other two members to get Katya in the trap and beat her down.
Yeah,
Um, Helena Rose making her return and then making an ally in Katya, I think that was an effective way to show that there are sides to this. There's the Helena Rose side, and then there's the um, Dames of Deception side. It makes Helena Rose a more viable threat to the Dames because if it was her by herself, she would not be a viable threat to the three women at all.
yeah,
But with the help of Katya, she is a slightly more viable threat, even though it's still 3 on 2. Again, her return got a huge reaction from the crowd, and it was just nice to see Katya and Helena join in solidarity, and then running the Dames away,
Yeah.
forcing them to flee.
So we get another commercial for Colby Jordan, and then we go to the ROX show pick of the week, which this week is New Age Horizons. Last time it was True and Pro. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not really much to take away from this. I'd like to see New Age Horizons put an episode out before they get voted show of the week, but I think it's very promising what's about to happen. Like the commentator said, there was like there was a big deal when they was around the first time. So I'm excited to see what happens with their episodes coming along. So from this we go to Tesla Vendetta makes her way to the ring, and she is interrupted by Ends. What happened here?
So Tesla Vendetta was slated to come out for an apology, but we all knew that was never going to happen. Tesla's not the type of person to apologize. Ends knew that was going to happen. Tesla knew that wasn't going to happen. The fans knew that wasn't going to happen. So Ends immediately cut her off, interrupted her, saying essentially that you weren't going to apologize. I didn't expect you to apologize. He didn't want her to apologize. He doesn't think these fans deserve an apology. So instead, he just announced that she will have an opponent at Vengeance, and he announced that if she loses her match at Vengeance, she not only loses her title, she also loses her job in ROX.
Yeah.
So this is Ends continuing his firing spree, saying that your job, not only your title is on the line, but your career in ROX is on the line.
Would you like to make an early prediction of who you think it may be?
Um, I would.
Personally, I think it's going to be Ashba. Who do you think?
I'm, I I can see it being a few people. I mean, Jin and Tesla do go ways back. Ashba could be a solid opponent. She's made a recent return and she's building up some steam. Um, but my original thought was also Ashba.
I feel like it could be. Yeah, you're right. It could be numerous people. I'm just trying to think of who's like hot in the industry right now. So there's Ashba, there's Jin, Ashley Goldman's pretty hot right now. So there's numerous people.
Who?
It could be your boss or your
Who?
co-boss, I guess. I guess would it be co-boss, co-owners? You know who she is. Don't be a
Yeah.
clown. And then we get to the best part of the show. Ryan Ricci comes down to the ring. Of course, I say that sarcastically. Um, so yeah, so he says that he's the man that single-handedly carried the wrestling industry last year from going to dust to ashes. This is wrong. No, he didn't single-handedly carry the wrestling industry and stop it from dying. That's just not right. Um, did he play a part in wrestling continuing? Of course he did. But could one person keep the industry alive? Not at all. So what else did he have to say?
Well, he essentially made out that JTD was never a real champion. As we know, JTD was the last CTO global champion before the company shut down. Essentially said that how can you be a champion if you never actually can or will defend your title, which is a valid point, but because it
Yeah.
was Ryan Ritchie, I was slated to disagree. Um, it was a Ryan Ritchie promo. It was formulaic in a way because all of his promos tend to follow a certain formula. He tends to go from ripping on his opponents to whining about how he doesn't get opportunities or whining about how something was taken from him, then to attacking the crowd, then to back to his opponent. He tends to like kind of bounce around during his promos, and it's just formulaic of him. Um, then the promo was actually interrupted by JTD, who attempted an attack on Ryan, but they kind of just awkwardly stood there and stayed down because I don't think Ryan was quite expecting JTD to come from
Yeah.
behind, which he did come out the crowd. And JTD, I guess, was waiting for Ryan to react. Um, and then they kind of entered a small striking exchange. It was two punches, and then Ryan deflected the second one and then left the ring and walked away. So Ryan once again proving that he is a coward, and even though he said that JTD was the cowardly one out of the two, but I guess it's Ryan being a delusional heel as before when he
Yeah,
said he was
he
carrying the wrestling industry. He's a
stating that
delusional heel, which is what he is.
stating JTD isn't an obstacle, he's just a stepping stone to him eventually being the rightful ROX champion. So again, my issue with Ryan Ricci isn't that he can't cut a promo. Like the worded well, and the context and contents of it is good. It's just I'd like to hear him put more emotion into stuff. It often sounds very monotone and like I don't know. I just feel like a little bit of aggression into what he says. Like he's telling us that he's angry about something. Show that you're angry about it. Let passion take over just a little bit, and act like you care a little bit. Like not so much about what's happening because he states he doesn't, but like emotionally, like he's obviously got an emotional attachment to what's going on. Like, he needs to showcase that a little bit more, and just putting that extra emphasis on words could improve the quality so much. It's honestly ridiculous how much it can improve the quality. So then we get to the main event. Jamoshi Ali versus Will Steele. Obviously it's
Desmond
announced during Will Steele's Desmond's Desmond, you're right. It's announced during Desmond's entrance that Jamoshi's entrance that Will Steele has not been medically cleared to enter this match, and that it's been made into a one-on-one. The match itself was a little bit iffy to me, at least. Despite the joking around that we do, I was rooting for Jamoshi a little bit here, but I'm not gonna lie, seeing the first thing that happened was Jamoshi getting dropped was a pretty good feeling. So yeah, tell us what happens in this match.
So, this match from the get-go was all Desmond.
Oh
Desmond
yeah.
was dominating in the beginning. Immediately took advantage of Ali with a few punches, um, sending him flying from corner to corner. He did flatten and crush Ali's midsection and spine with a spear and belly to belly. Desmond would just try and continue this dominance throughout this match, but Ali would manage to get some reversals in and
Yeah,
shift his weight a little bit on one of the power slams.
he got a beautiful flip senton from the top rope to the outside.
Yeah, that came a little bit later on in the match
Yeah.
when the action did spill a little bit to the outside. Which was a recurring issue not issue, but a recurring theme in this match that a lot of the action, most of
Yeah.
the notable action happened on the outside.
So then Moshi tries a chin lock, showcasing his inexperience and lack of wrestling knowledge, I guess, or just lack of just intelligence completely. The size difference alone was immense. Just seeing the stare down at first, was like Jamoshi looked like a child compared to Desmond Cruz, and tries a chin lock. Like I say, it was a bad idea. Desmond Cruz gets out of it, and he punches Jamoshi's stomach so much. I'm pretty sure he turned all the Xanax inside of it to like dust. Like that's it. The ridiculous. If Jamoshi isn't having stomach problems for the next week, I would honestly be shocked. But that's not the end for Moshi. He gets a little bit of steam. He gets a very close. Well, I wouldn't say very close, but he does get a 2 count on the champion, which is pretty good. Not gonna lie. But yeah, not much after that. Jamoshi taunts the crowd again. Bad idea. Not showing very much ring awareness here. Desmond sits up and hits a chokeslam. Goes for 2 pinfalls, and then what happens with that, sir?
So Desmond hit his chokeslam backbreaker, Jamoshi did have another flurry of offense, but it was quickly quenched by Desmond.
Yeah.
Then we had an interruption to this match. We saw Will Steele make his second appearance on the show tonight. First appearance where he was apparently concussed or just taken out of the action. And then he made his return here, exacting his revenge on Cruz,
Yeah.
and actually eventually costing him this match. So Jamal Ali did go on to win this match, but
Kind of.
not by submission, and kind of. We'll get to that later. But so while they're on the outside, Will Steele was just dominating. He more matched the size of Desmond Cruz than Jamal Ali ever could. He was
Yeah.
able to actually contend with Desmond's power and in some like actually overpower Desmond. Um, so after actually spearing Desmond through the ropes, sending him to the outside, he punched him while he was on the ground a few times, pummeling him, laying into him with a flurry of strikes, and then he hit his release spinning fisherman's carry, so onto the steel part of the ramp, and then this left Desmond knocked out completely. And then once he was on the ground, the referee did count to 8, and it's
Yeah.
notable that the referee counted to 8, and then the bell rang. So there was never actually a 10 count, and we don't actually know why there
Um,
wasn't ever a 10 count.
to my knowledge, ROX haven't like changed the rules because obviously if they wanted to, they could. In fact,
They
change the
could
rules to an 8 count rather than a 10. Japan has a 20 count. You
they
can,
could
they
change it to
could,
5.
yeah, they could
It's up
change
to
it to what
them.
they want. But yeah, there's an 8
But there
count.
was no indication of a rule change though.
Something that did throw me off in this match. Once Steel comes out, at the top of the screen there was advertising that big sizzle bacon again. Made me hungry. For bacon, obviously. Proper bacon, not vegan bacon. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm confused as to why they was advertising bacon, but overall, I feel like the whole
After
quality of
being
the show was great, like compared to Burnout X. Like not so much maybe the quality of the matches because we had Okami and Halton on X,
and
but
We had Will and Orion on X.
yeah,
There were just two amazing matches, and I don't
yeah,
think the show really had an amazing match to really
no,
really go home
I
with.
guess
Um,
you'd have to say the best match of the night was the opener, and even then that wasn't a great match. But
it was a good match. Not to discount what those
oh
men
yeah,
did. They did go out
oh
there and put on a
they
good
did a
match.
good job.
It just wasn't to the quality of what we expected
I mean,
from them.
Kyo's a world champion in Freedom.
He is, which wasn't actually acknowledged tonight,
No,
which is also odd, because Akami did walk out with his Valiant belt, and it was surprising for Kia not to walk out with his.
yeah,
Um,
that confused
it
me too.
just seemed odd.
But yeah, like I said, the overall like physical what's the word I'm looking for? Like the way it's presented, like the physical presentation of the show was so much better than last time. Like there was no real like cracks in quality. There was like little bits here and there, but there was nothing that really threw you off that much.
Yeah,
So I feel like they may have took the advice. It could have been our advice. It could have just been they just knew they needed to do it in the first place. But they took what we said, and it feels like they listened to it. Whether that's the case or not, I don't know. But it's what it feels like. But yeah, overall, I don't think it was necessarily a bad show. I just don't think it was that great at the same time. It was definitely better than Valiant Episode 5 that we reviewed, or 4, whatever it was. Like I said, we did actually review that, but we had some issues with microphones, and we didn't want to redo it because the show sucked. Um,
uh,
the main event was good though. But yeah, like the overall presentation was a massive improvement. Going forward, I'm curious to who Tesla's opponent will be, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Steele and Cruz going forward. They're my two biggest takeaways. Obviously, I'm always curious as to what Okami's doing because Okami's Okami. But like I say, Everett Continelli has reignited my interest within him. I was losing the interest, and it's coming back. I'm not gonna lie. What about you? What did you think overall?
I think this was overall it was a stronger show in terms of production quality, but it was a weaker show in terms of wrestling. Um, my big takeaways from the show is I'm interested to see where the Ryan Ritchie storyline goes with JTB.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
also interested to see where the Will and Desmond storyline goes because that is the main storyline. That is the
yeah.
big thing leading this show. Um,
I'm also curious to see
I
what's gonna
think
happen
they
with Moshi next. Honestly.
Yeah, because considering he has a win over the champion, I think it was announced on ROX's Twitter page, if I'm not wrong, that he will address the 8 count scenario, the 8 count situation. Um,
Man,
yeah, I'm just
Moshi.
excited to see what some people do.
Either way, for Moshi, he had a good showing. Like, was it the best showing? No, but he had a good showing against one of the most dominant champions in the industry right now. So honestly, I feel like he just needs to let his nuts hang, dog. You feel me? Um, he did great, honestly. He's improving in ring a lot. He does need to work on his mic work a little bit. But like I say, he lets his nuts hang, dog. You feel me? Yeah, I feel like I said, the overall show was a massive improvement. And yeah, so with that said, we're gonna close it out here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this review, subscribe to CawTalk and follow us on Twitter at CawTalk. When is your review up, Philip?
The written review would be up at 6 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Well, as of this video, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Um, and that's when a written review will be up. You can follow us on Twitter at Today in Call Up. Today in Call. That's about it. Don't have anything else
Uh,
to plug.
nope, me neither. Episode 10 of CawTalk will be Joshua Phoenix. That's something to plug,
That's
I
good.
guess. But yeah, so until next time, thank you and good night, or good evening, or whatever you're watching this. Bye.